It's been like 2 years since you were on my channel and you grew like 1.5 feet. Hello everyone, my name is Lisa and I'm the Viet Vegan because I'm Vietnam vegan, and I'm not in my kitchen, I'm actually in my grandma's kitchen and I'm visiting my family today, and we're making Bánh Lọc. I've never made it before, but I've eaten it lots of times because my family, or my dad's side, is from that region where that is a famous dish. I'm using some Beyond Beef and Light Life together. I figured it would be good to like mix the two, and I'm wearing a mask because safety. My mom's here. What you doing, Mom?
Hi. I have making Bánh Lọc.
She uses jicama for the filling, but it's a little moldy. So she's peeling off the outside. Are you gonna wash it after you peel it? Because there's mold on your hands? Okay. Just making sure.
If you've seen my spring roll recipe, you'll notice that there's a similarity in the method of making the filling for this. It's almost the same filling. It's just there's no noodles, and you can use different vegetables. Now, traditionally, there are 2 different types of Bánh Bột Lọc. There is one in leaves, and that's like steamed in banana leaves, and then there's just one that's naked like this. This is the type that my family eats a lot, and it is less fussy than wrapping it in leaves, although wrapping it in banana leaves does give it a really good flavor. Meanwhile, also hydrate about 20 grams of this wood ear fungus. You've probably seen this on my channel before. You can buy it dried whole or in strips like that at Asian food markets. You can also buy it in bulk at zero waste bulk, which is pretty cool. We're gonna chop up the wood ear fungus into kind of like a fine dice. You want it to be in small enough pieces that it will fit into the dumpling, because the dumplings are actually pretty small. In the meantime, I'm cutting the jicama into a fine dice, and then I'm gonna do the same with this cooking onion. Traditionally, the dumpling filling is a combination of pork and dried shrimp. Now, the shrimp that they would normally use is like the little tiny shrimp, and it's a lot more salty and like stinky and fermented versus the normal like large shrimp that you would normally see. So obviously I'm not using either of those. We're just gonna use vegetables and the mock meat. For this recipe, you're gonna need about 1.5 bunches of green onion. I would use about 1 bunch for the filling and then 1/2 bunch for the green onion oil. In this version, I'm just using the greens, but that's just because this is from my grandpa's garden. So if I had them from the grocery store, I would cut the whites as well as the green, and you can use both because they're both delicious. I have a bunch of those ingredients set aside, but I'm gonna start off by cooking the onion with the oil, and we're gonna cook that until it's translucent. Hopefully you'll have defrosted your meat substitute here. If you don't wanna use Light Life, you can also use soy crumbles or TVP, and you can just season it with a bit of extra like vegetable broth or some vegan fish sauce as well. Cook that until it's like kind of cooked through. With the Light Life, it kind of changes color slightly, and you'll notice that it'll like clump up a little bit more. Then you'll add the jicama, the wood ear fungus, and cook that through until it's like heated through. You want the jicama to just soften slightly because it starts off really crunchy. So it'll still be crunchy in the end, but not as crunchy as it is when it's raw. Once the jicama is heated through, you're gonna add in the chopped green onion, and you're also gonna season with a bit of soy sauce or vegan fish sauce, salt, and pepper. Give it a taste and adjust the seasoning to your preference. It should just be like regularly salty, especially because we're gonna be adding sauce on top afterwards. Set aside and let cool while you make the dough.
So my mom keeps doing stuff without telling me. So this is 400 grams of tapioca starch. I'm just gonna follow her because she's not gonna stop. It has to be boiling water?
Yeah.
Okay. An Asian house is not complete without the hot water thing. So make a well. Hot water.
So first off, I would recommend using a much larger bowl, and I would also recommend doubling the amount that we started with. So the main recipe that I'll have linked down below will reflect the proper amounts. So it's doubled than what it looks here. And the reason why you need to double it, especially if you're not used to making them, is that you'll end up using more filling per dumpling if you're not quite as good at folding the dumplings just yet. Eventually, as you get better, you'll use less of the dough per dumpling, which will be a better eating experience because these dumplings are actually very chewy, and that's like kind of the point of them. They're very delicious, but quite chewy. With the mixing, you're gonna be mixing with boiling water, so I do recommend using gloves, especially use oiled gloves or oiled hands to mix the dough. You're going to have to like stop and re-oil every time, and so you're just gonna keep mixing until you feel the dough sort of like come together, because at first it's gonna be really clumpy, and the more you mix and the more oil you add with your hands, then the better the dough will come together, and it'll be like a smooth elastic dough. And once it starts sticking a lot to the bottom of whatever you're mixing it on, just make sure you oil the surface pretty well, and just keep mixing until it smooths out. So to make the dumplings, you're gonna take a ball of the dough and you're gonna flatten it out to be a circle. You want it to be about a little bit thinner than a 1/4 inch thick, and you're probably gonna aim towards maybe slightly less than 2 inches big. Some of the dumplings that my mom and I started making were about 3 inches big, which is kind of too big because that's just like a lot of dough and it's just a lot of dumpling to have in your mouth at one time. And it's hard to like bite these in half. So I suggest making them even smaller. You kind of want to aim the diameter of the circle that you're making to be just under 2 inches, maybe like 1.5 inches to 1.75 inches. It sounds really small, but once you get the hang of it, you'll be able to push the filling into the dumpling and then also stretch the dumpling just far enough that it'll wrap around the filling without breaking. Next thing we need to do is make the green onion oil. So we're heating up about 1/4 cup of oil here, and then we're adding some green onions. Again, this is like from my grandpa's garden and he leaves the whites in the soil so it keeps on growing. So we just have the greens here. Both are fine. You're just gonna heat up the oil until it's pretty hot, and then you're gonna add the onion, turn off the heat and just stir the onion into it, and you just want the onion to wilt in. To cook the dumplings, you're gonna bring a pot of water to a boil and add about 1 tablespoon of oil. This will just help lubricate it and make sure that they don't stick when you pull them out. This is something that you'll have to do in batches because you can only fit so much dumpling in one pot. So cooking them is a lot like cooking gnocchi. So you just wait until they're floating, then you scoop them out and plunk them into a water bath. This is just a plain cold water bath. It doesn't have to be hot, it doesn't have to be cold, it doesn't really matter. You just want it to sit in that so that you can scoop them out eventually, and then place them into a bowl and then coat them with about 1 tablespoon of onion oil. Mix that up so that it sort of doesn't stick to each other. Rinse and repeat. This will take about 2 hours depending on how many people you have helping you or how good you are at wrapping the dumplings. Like with anything small and mechanical like this, the more you do it, the better that you get at them. So the ones that we made at the beginning were a little rough. They were a little harder to eat because they were bigger, but as we kept on making them and we got better at them, they were smaller and much easier to eat and also way more delicious. I had a lot of fun making these with my family. I hadn't seen my family since like January or February, mostly because my mom is an accountant. So usually during tax season, I don't really see her at all. She's like way too busy. It was just really nice to like spend time with my family during this quarantine situation. I was wearing a mask the entire time. My family didn't really do that, and I'm pretty sure they kind of made fun of me for it, but I was just doing it to protect them because my mom's immunocompromised. So when I was eating this, I was sitting outside by myself and eating this, but yeah, it was pretty nice to see my family. It's been a while and I really missed them. So when you're ready to eat, you're gonna want to reheat these in a microwave or something, or you can reboil them again so that they're freshly hot. And then you're gonna top them with some fried shallots. You can buy this at the store. You can make this yourself with just frying them in some oil. And then you top them with my favorite sauce. It's the Nuc Mum sauce. I'll leave the link in the corner as well as down below. It's a combination of soy sauce, lime juice, sugar, garlic, and crushed chilies.
Oh my gosh, I'm so tired. Let's give it a taste test. It's so cold now. So the sauce that I put on top, I'll leave the link down below. We have some fried shallots on top and then some onion oil. The purpose of the green onion oil is not just for flavor, it's also to sort of lubricate all of the dumplings so they don't stick to each other. So the green onion oil is very important. Please don't skip that. It's a good time. So yeah, that's this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Sorry it's a little chaotic, but you know, that's what cooking with my mom is like usually. And she just kind of is like, okay, I'm putting this in now, but like doesn't wait for me to get the camera on. Honestly, normally she doesn't even say like, I'm gonna put this in now. She just puts it in. Yeah, anyway, that's this dish. I hope you like it and I hope you make it and try it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a delicious day. Bye.
He's so tall I can't get both the food and mint in the camera.